sociological student studying antisocial schizoid behavior, the psychopathic implications could make an elongated paper on their own. Some might postulate that the superciliousness of the medical profession causes a more elongated fracturing of the medical sector's impersonality in general. This superciliousness is fairly obviously a trait which has been adopted through necessity to take the dispassionate view of every medical case as a potential surgeon. This does not improve our disposition towards them, however, for most of the populace. Now this is where it gets interesting, because 700 years ago you might have been battered to death or burned at the stake for uttering a word of anatomical knowledge, let alone neurological awareness, for which penalty would have been even worse. As Blackadder put it, a fate worse than the fate worse than death. That's pretty bad. Indeed, what's pretty bad? What's worse than a fate worse than death?
At the end of the day, it's a human trait hidden deep down inside of our DNA. One man can build a bomb, another run a race to save somebody's life and have it blow up in his face. I'm not the only one who finds it hard to understand. I'm not afraid of God, I am afraid of man.
Many moons ago, I had the honour and pleasure to have a very good friend who was the quirkiest and oddest person you could ever meet, talking to himself, trees, walls, plants, even holding conversations with imaginary people. This seemed to me, as a child, as if it might just be the quirkiness of youth, although, as we grew older, at boarding school this behaviour got worse. Today, he's one of the most fascinating and intelligent people I know. However, he is definitely of the Scitzoid persuasion. Poor soul. From April 17 to August 18, I endured a working environment that was introverted, self-indulgent, and selfish, indicative of the way in which care industries and their organisational charge today, one might say. A fate worse than a fate worse than death, perhaps. The second Georgian period that has already been alluded to with that Blackadder quote, things were really quite different, and treatment severe in comparison to today's approach of tolerance and communal care. The travesty of Bedlam springs to mind immediately. Indeed, the medieval period, entire orders of monks were segregated from the contemporary crusading world and devoted to those suffering from everything from schizoid behaviour to leprosy. The Order of Lazerus was a particular fragmented section of organic solidarity between knights of the Crusades at around 1250 and the Second Crusades. The order was established to encourage the mentally unfortunate to continue to serve God under the opposite auspices of the crusading spirit by dying and indeed sacrificing their lives in its cause. It's really that, or spending the remainder of your days on the streets of a city like York begging for a living. It was the Mental Capacity and Deprivation of Liberty Act in 2004 that really made a substantial difference to those segregated by society. Instead of having people scour and admonish them as they walk down the street, the mentally and physically challenged in our contemporary culture of this country would take advantage of the freedoms and rights so readily available to others. All this without reprisal or reproach, which might have been subjugated to their lot in the 11th century counterparts. We're very lucky in the 21st century. The Dignity in Care campaign of 2006 sought to create good practice in care and, more importantly, to recognise the different spectrums of care needs in developing person-centred care for those unfortunate enough to need it. Dreams can now be fulfilled to some small degree at least without approachment or fear from the public at large getting in the way. Some might put it down to the American Bill of Amendments 400 years ago. Some might say it was the English and French Enlightenment 600 years ago, and of the phenomenal influences of our great artists and writers in the last 700 years, particularly Shakespeare and the war writers of the 20th century. This is true of influences that have brought understanding into consciousness, although there is something distinctly primal in the instinct to create dreams through communication. Such dreams have built empires, and the nightmare that consequently ensued when dream stopped it, made by those empires that fall to dust. Think Rome, Byzantium, Nazism, and the great British Empire, though dreams give us more than mass enslavement and establishmentarianism. Other species on the planet have predators, natural disasters, the propagation of their kind, and man himself to worry about, whereas us, being at the top of the food chain, we spawn our own terrors. There is something intrinsically part of the psyche that is a need for demons to fight, monsters if you will. Such spectres have paraded and haunted our dream through literature, media, the word of mouth, since the very dawn of civilization. Ancient gods, creatures from the depths of hell, fallen angels, fallen kingsmen, creatures of our minds, sea-dwelling mutations, maniacal megalomaniacs, ill and detrimentally damaged psychopaths with a thirst for vengeance. Is this how we perceive us, those who cannot defend their own consciousness? Let alone ourselves. It is with the Equality Act of 2010 that change and diversity within the medical necessity really began to kick off, though. Law made it an essential that those who were subjected by the constraints in previous years were finally recognised. This was not the case in the founder of the Order of Lazerus, who was kicked out of the Knights Templar in 1249. The ashes of the human race, disparagement towards differences in society are everywhere, even today. Dr. John said of money that there is no more innocent pastime which any Englishman can be occupied, and this is certainly true of the Anglicanized attitude towards finances. Private care establishments and hospitals are symbolically erected today as a memorial to the lost quest for greater cash. They use the understanding and need for such things as person-centered care to sway the way their need for more financial gain within the copious layers of mechanical bedding. Are the medical professionals here the true Scitzoid kings? Indeed, in post-modern times, our preconception with such matters has risen tenfold, a far cry from the salad days where the only question that was asked of the social crowd was whether anyone was for cricket. Accomplishments were a requirement of a gentleman of yore as well, whether it be piano, shooting or racing, all of which occupations those with schizoid personality would be extremely fortunate in attaining. Is this considered the adventure towards financial acumen? Although the disease and psychologically damaged mental states are no longer considered to be carried by humans within the atmosphere, doctors and senior medical professionals still feel the need to wear masks and defensive attitudes today. They may not be masks with long beaks. Their appreciation of their excellence does not dictate abeyance in any way. In fact, a lot of these specialists in medical care should be pitied to some degree, for the aforementioned behaviour seems to stem, a lot of the time, to the trait of perceiving them as gods. However, for the time being we're stuck with them, I'm afraid. If only we could get them to smile.
And when my heir is dislodged and abroad, his way not found, and identity but scored, I shall turn and assert the truth in his mind.
It was a certain amount of guilt that I wrote the next retrospective rumours. Shot while on holiday in Portugal, I pondered the possible effect of my Easter egg was having on me. So it led me to wonder about the other addictive indulgences in life. In particular, I wondered about the origins of those nicotine and caffeine-based products and how they originated. With the high street today teeming with coffee shops and vape stores in which these obsessive consumers frequent, it led me to think how the explorers of the 16th century would feel if they could see the product of their labours today. Walter Raleigh would have been astonished at the prevalence of both nicotine and coffee, as might the Queen of Distractions herself, Elizabeth I. It's like it might have been burned at the stake. And to death, or by the mistake of uttering a word I never fucking know. Different, and that's not the right shot. Instead of having people, oh fuck. Temporary culture of this country will take advantage of the freedoms and rights so readily available to others. All this. Still, it's good.
Thank you anyway.
The last 700 years, particularly Shakespeare and the war writing of the 20th century. All this is true of the influences. It's important understanding the fuck off. Important understanding. Cheers. Thank you. A lot of these specialists in medical care should be pitied to some degree for the fucking hell. This is what I go through. This is what I do. It's on the regular. You know? It's like, for you. For you. The one and only love, for you. That's what it is.
Beautiful.